movie and then read the book, because then I don't feel like it's quite so, I don't feel as let down. But being an avid reader, I do read a lot, and I'm used to be interested in watching movies that I have read books of, until a few of them kind of burnt me. Just going to jump in there. One of my favorites that was turned into a movie was the Hunt for the Red October. And the reason that's one of my favorites is because the book itself, if they had actually taken all of it that had been in there, it would have been a Gone with the Wind, like a 3-4 hour movie. But whoever did the screenwriting, they actually took the full essence of the book. I was able to condense it to where you still didn't lose what the book was about. So by the time you watched the movie and finished it, you really had seen pretty much what was in the book. You just didn't get all the little minute details and things like that. But that was a great book that was put into a movie. So who would like to go first and tell me how you feel about watching a movie that you've seen of a book you've read? Go ahead, Lakeisha. Sorry. We'll get to you next, Clark. You have to unmute yourself, Lakeisha.
There we go. Okay. I would say the one that I like was Misery.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That book was awesome. I mean, that's the first book that I remember where I jumped and I'm reading something, you know, and
Yeah.
it was really good. I mean, I couldn't put it down. I remember it. And then when I saw the movie, I thought they did a pretty good job. That, you know, they left out some, you know, some key points in the book. But I think Kathy Bates, you know, I mean, she played that part. She played that part.
She was great.
Yeah, she was awesome in that movie. But yeah, so I wasn't too terribly disappointed, but you know, I did expect to see, you know, what all that she did to him, you know, to be in the movie, but they didn't put it in there.
Yep.
Which is
Clark, go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry.
I agree. The Misery, the movie would have been very hard to stomach had it been true to the book. But I don't know, you know, when you think about how many hours you spend reading, and of course, reading, you can speed up the action a good deal.
Right.
How any book gets condensed into a movie. What I'm amazed at is movies that add stuff to, you know, a good book.
Yeah.
I'm thinking one of the absurd things is The Hobbit, which is this tiny little, you know, novel, and it's spread out into 3 movies, and it's sort of like, guys, you know, it's they've had to put subplots into it to pad it out, and it changes the, you know, I mean, to make a good movie, it probably needed a little bit of padding, but I thought that was dishonest to the book. Another one that I just saw, and so it looms large in my thoughts, is John Krakauer's wrote a book about survival, a man who went into the Alaskan wilderness and died. And they made a movie, and I would say a third of the movie was stuff that had been interpolated in order to flesh it out. Yeah. And it was a fairly sad story to begin with, and it wasn't made any better by attempts to improve on what the man was saying himself.
Yeah. Sandra, what do you have to say? I see your hand was up, and we'll come to you next, Jenny. But Sandra, you need to can you unmute yourself? While you're looking for your unmute, Jenny, go ahead with what you have to say.
Well, if you compare a book and a movie, they're 2 completely different creative aspects. And if the book is written first, I then it's handed over to the producer and the director and the actors to interpret it. And a lot depends on the actors and the background, and it's a completely different process, and it's a completely different emotional process. I just recently I watched Where the Crawdads Sing.
Yes.
I loved the book. It was very slow. It was very poetic. I had a lot of pictures in my mind, and I think the movie did a great job of bringing that alive in its peaceful pace and showing the environment. And I think the acting was great. So a lot also depends on the acting, but it's a different process.
Oh,
So
yes,
you
absolutely.
really prepare, and you're sitting in a movie for a lot less than you read.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
In a way, reading takes you deeper than it does in a movie.
Yeah,
it takes
really
you
does.
deeper into the psyches. It takes you deeper into motivation, and it gives you a lot more details. And I think if a movie does justice to a book and can create that intense psychological aspect, then I think the movie does a great job. But you know, a lot depends on the acting. Like you mentioned Hunt for Red October. I mean, the acting was fantastic.
Oh,
I mean,
yes,
I was just like watching it for the acting.
Yeah, definitely. Sandra, I see you're unmuted now. So what did you have to say earlier?
Pretty much she said something that I was going to say. And the actors make the movie. And I think, yes, you get more out of the book than you do out of the movie.
Okay. Up in the corner in the pink, I forgot what you said your name was besides Wing Tech.
Latasha Oliver
Latasha.
Pullen.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Latasha, what did you have to say, ma'am?
One of my favorite books is Flowers in the Attic. And I liked the original movie, but the book was much better than the movie. I'm not talking about the Lifetime version of it, but the original movie that was done way back when. I thought that movie, it did the book justice, but the book was still better.
Yeah. Okay. I agree. Sandra, I see you still have your little hand up there. So I didn't know if you wanted to say something else or you just forgot to take it down. Just clip it again. Anybody else have something they want to add to any of that right there? I mean, tell me a movie that you've read a book that the movie was a total flop. Go ahead, Iris. Oh, you're muted, darling.
Unmuted.
Down at the bottom. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking about Little Women. I read that years and years and years and years ago when I was a little girl, and I enjoyed it so much. Then after a while, I saw it on TV, and it wasn't quite as good anymore. I enjoy books better than movies, actually.
I think our imagination, Iris, is where we have the difference when it comes to reading a book, because we imagine those characters, and then when you see them on the screen, they don't look like what we've always imagined per se.
Right.
Don't you think that? Yeah.
I think so. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Dan?
Yes, I agree with you. I think that she brought up a very good point. It's like talking to someone for the first time on the phone and becoming close friends via the phone. And then when you finally meet them, you realize they look nothing like your imagination thought of them. I mean, I've never been terribly disappointed at all. It's just that I think when we go to a movie that's been made after a book, I think that we should go there with different expectations. One, you're being entertained by others, producers, actors, and the such, script writers, the whole machinery of the movie industry, versus one author's conception of carrying you through a storyline. And I think in both cases, you can enjoy them terribly without having to come away with a terrible criticism, unless the essence of the story is lost.
Yeah.
So one example is I'm an animation follower. I love anime. I'm a Disney freak. And one of the things that I've always loved is is how he authored the idea of making wilderness animals and pets into actual personalities.
Yeah.
And when I was in college, I was deeply moved and motivated spiritually by Khalil Gibran's book, The Prophet. I don't know if any of you have read it, but back
I
in the
have.
90s, it was like the most popular book in college campuses.
Mhm.
And when they made an animated movie out of it, it was not even the essence of the prophet. It seemed more like he was a highly regarded, what would you say, some kind of a sage or minister,
Yeah.
but the essence of his miraculous tongue, he said so many beautiful things, some poignant
Mhm.
metaphors, and I mean, it just carried your heart away like, oh my God, I believe in principles again. I believe in ideals. And when I saw the cartoon, I didn't come away with that feeling. But so rather than be disappointed, I just kind of accepted the cartooning in animation for what it was, because I don't like to walk away being critical, if you understand.
Right. Hmm.
Anyway, that's
Absolutely. Good points, though. Absolutely good. Okay. Do I see any other hands here? I have to look through all the little boxes.
So we're in
That could
box.
take a
Yeah,
while.
really. Seriously, this is a great group. I'm telling you. Joanne, you have anything to say, or Erica, you guys?
Latasha does.
Latasha, speak up.
I-
Oh, I
Well,
see you. Yes, your hand is up.
I think that when you're watching a movie, it's a whole different sensory that is
Yeah.
stimulated. You know,
Absolutely.
when you're reading a book, it's up to you to form that picture in your mind. Whereas with the movie, it's already there. It's made for you. So, and I think that's why we enjoy books more than we enjoy movies.
Yeah, that's a good point. Clark?
You know, there's also a certain amount of subject matter. I think where the crawdads sing is so evocative that it's kind of, you know, designed for a book, and to get it into a movie is great. I have a friend who says he doesn't like British movies because nothing blows up. So
Jeez.
I think movies are much better at blowing things up for some reason.
Yeah.
It depends on the story in a lot of ways. There are visual stories that need to be, well, no, need to be, but can be well told by a visual presentation. But again, you've got to distill out the bright line of the story in order to translate it into the same emotional experience, or a different but also valid emotional experience.
Mhm.
There, you know, as everyone's been saying, it's a different modality. I was surprised myself at merely the written word versus the audible word being a different modality. And the written word, you can have, you know, homonyms and wordplay and all these other things that you can't, they're completely lost in an audible presentation, as an example. And you got to rewrite that stuff to make it work, to make at least some of it work audibly. And here in a movie, the interior dialogue is gone. I mean, you've got loss of an entire palette of emotions and words you can use because you can't get inside people's heads as easily.
Yeah. Jenny?
Well, that's the skill of an actor to express their emotions by body language and facial expressions. You don't actually have to have words to express what's going on. You can have sadness and anger and all kinds of things, but by the acting. So certainly with reading a book, you get it all the inner workings are all laid out for you. But I kind of like watching an actor express that, so that in a way it's just a different experience. And if you can read people, then and empathy, I think, is developed through reading and writing, but also through watching movies. You understand the emotional tension people are going through. It doesn't have to be written.
That's true. Very true. Let me make sure, looking for hands here. Okay. Oh yes, Joanne, I see you over there. Go ahead. You're muted, darling. Look on the bottom of your screen over on the left-hand side and see if you can unmute. Okay, still don't have an unmuting here.
Joanne, we have you on mute. I've asked you to unmute yourself. Okay, I don't think we have her microphone.
Okay, while she
on.
is unmuting herself, I'm going to throw this in.
There you go. I can hear her.
Oh, there you are. Okay, good deal. Go ahead, Joanne.
Y'all had, yeah, y'all had mute. How are you? I saw that movie and I liked it, and then I came home and read the book. I liked as well as I like the I like I did the movie. Can y'all hear me? Can you hear?
It's coming in and out
Can
kind
y'all
of on
hear
my
me?
side. Yes,
Are you
now I
coming in and
can. It's
out?
clear. Yes.
Well, is that better?
That's
Can
better.
you
Yes,
hear
ma'am.
me now?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you hear what I said?
It kind of broke
the
up.
movie The Crab better than I did. That's okay. Listen to y'all. Go ahead. I will listen to y'all because I'm out in the country, so my internet is not the best.
I understand that completely. I live out in the woods myself.
Me too.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm
I was
trying.
gonna. Well, you just keep on. I mean, we'll bear with you. It's good. So.
Well, I just was saying I like the movie better than I like the book.
Which one?
I just The Crab. Not is that the movie that just came out? Crab.
The Crawdads.
I like that.
Crawdads,
I like
yes.
the book. Crawdads, crabs, crawdads. Yeah, I like the movie a lot. And I came home and read the book, and I didn't like the book as much as I did the movie.
Yeah.
That's
Okay,
all
well,
I had.
Well, that's good though. While you guys are pondering what else you want to say, I'm going to throw this in the pond. One of my growing up, I was a very I loved C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien, those genre books. And you know, Clark, you were talking about The Hobbit. Well, there is a trilogy that runs after that, The Lord of the Rings and The Two Towers and The Return of the King. But one of the things I've seen The Hobbit and I've seen a little bit of The Lord of the Rings, and the problem I have is I have such a vivid imagination that I thought Gollum, which was one of my favorite, like, wicked, evil little monstery things, I kind of envisioned him like a hellbender. I don't know if you know what a hellbender is, but in the Americas, the hellbenders are these like 3 to 4 foot salamanders, you know, and they live in the bottom of the streams. They're harmless. If you stepped on one, it would scare you. We're a whole lot worse than you would, you know, it just isn't scary. I mean, they're not poisonous. They're really cool. But I always saw Gollum as this like slimy kind of little wiry, just yucky thing. And it was like, and because he was always walking around, he needed the ring, and it's like, my precious. And you'd hear that, you know, in the book, but it didn't carry over as well. And I felt kind of disappointed about like that. But at the same time, with what they're able to do, especially today with like animation and with all of the special effects, it's just incredible because we're talking 30 years ago watching The Lord of the Rings compared to what they have now. And it's just like from night and day. So you could take one book and say, okay, that was Steel Magnolias was a good book. The movie, I think they did an outstanding job, but then look at that once again, like Jenny had said, the actors and actresses that they had in that. The Hunt for the Red October, I think it could have been a lousy movie, but Sean Connery was in it. So as far as I was concerned, it was great, you know. But I think, you know, once again, you guys have made so many valid points about the actors and the actresses and how they convey those characters, because you could give me and say, okay, we want you to act like this person. You wouldn't want to watch that movie because I'm not an actor, you know. But at the same time, you could give it to somebody that is well trained in acting, or somebody that automatically is very dramatic. I could give it to my niece and I'm sure she'd do great. Drama, you know. Oh. But I'm not into the thing like that. Character acting, I've never been really good at it. Unfortunately, what you see is what you get. This is it. So, but once again, I believe that was spot on about that fact that you can have a great story and lousy actors and it's going to be an awful movie. But you can have a mediocre story with great actors and it's going to come across as, wow, that I never saw it like that. And you see something in a whole different light. So, okay, once again, do I see hands up besides mine?
I actually
yes.
do have my hand up because I was just wanna.
Oh, hey, Lords.
Yeah, I was just asking or like reiterating what Jenny actually mentioned, and this is Kimmy actually agreed as well. How can we get our books or your books made into a film? That's a great question.
Oh, yeah. So how? Tell us. Anybody here have somebody that they know that has written a book that has been put into a film, documentary, or anything? Anybody? No? Well, I have a friend of mine. Yeah, absolutely. Now I have a friend of mine that, like I was telling in one of the other sessions, his name is Jerry Ellis, and he writes mostly nonfiction. He has written some fiction, but mostly nonfiction about his journeys where he actually walked the Trail of Tears backwards and how it was even nominated for a Pulitzer Prize. And in fact, I'm going to a writer's seminar this Saturday at his home that he has every year. So, but he's just been approached by, I think it was Warner Brothers, to put the Trail of Tears into film. So he's been working with some people and learning how to do screenwriting. And what's so odd is his sister, Sandra Ellis Lafferty, she actually is an actress. And she played Ma Maybelle in Walk the Line. And she's actually going to be speaking with us on Saturday. She's just a lovely, lovely woman. But, you know, there's somebody that if I would have never thought about putting his movie or his book into a movie, but it can happen. I guess it's just the right people have to see it. Anybody got feedback on any of that?
I think that's the trick, is that we're all kind of atomized and just free floating, and there's random connection between the writers and the movie makers, and it's only under those circumstances any connections are made. There doesn't seem to be any way. And I'm you know, I understand there are too many, or there are lots. There's a million new titles a year. And there's no way that the few movies that get made a year can be exposed to all the ideas out there. But it doesn't seem to be any systematic way to get that exposure.
Dan? Dan, you're muted.
How's that?
There you go.
There
There
you
you
go.
are.
Okay, sorry about that. My question would be to the group is that I think all of us are unsung with respect to the movie industry. Obviously, an agency would have to represent us, someone who
Right.
has interconnections with the film industry. And I think that it probably in many cases, the reason books become movies is because unknown writers go looking for agencies to represent them. And there's good agents and there's bad agents, I would imagine. So some of it is luck of the draw and some of it is determination. And I think most of it is, I think the author's perseverance to get out there. And it probably depends on what kind of marketing money you can afford or whether someone's going to do it because they believe in you. I mean, I've heard the rumor that J.K. Rowling was an unsung writer for quite a while and turned down from a publisher after publisher until someone actually read the material and said, my goodness, this is going to explode. And he was from a publishing company and he went from England to the US and pounded on doors until he was listened to. And it was made into a movie. And now she's very financially well off.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. She actually was self-published. We talked about that one of the other roundtables, that her first book, she self-published. So, because she couldn't get anybody, she was rejected several times.
Yeah,
So,
see, we all have a chance.
absolutely. Absolutely. How about some people that we haven't heard from? Let's see.
Yeah.
Joanne, have you spoken with us? Or John? Erica? Yes, John. Unmute yourself and speak with us. You're still muted.
John Harold.
John, you're still muted.
There we go.
There you go. There you are, sir.
All right. Couple things come up. First of all, there was a famous author named William Saroyan. Anybody know of him?
The name is familiar, but I don't remember.
Well,
In the 60s.
Hollywood wanted to make his movies, make movies out of his books. And he said, only if you keep the movie exactly what my book says.
Oh, wow.
He made that point so clear that they made the movie to follow his book.
Wow.
More than one book. So you can, if you have the notoriety and the power, you can make your book a reality one into a movie.
Okay.
That's positive proof that it was done.
Wow.
I kind of disagree with what that other woman was trying to say to a point. For me, my favorite book is The African Queen.
I love that.
Okay. And the reason I like it is it created the adventure and the romance between the characters that I just fell in love with. I read the book that was written after it. It told you about how they got together and what they had to suffer to make the movie. And that was quite interesting. I don't know if they ever actually took it from a novel or not, but that's my favorite book of all time.
Yeah, that's a good book.
Okay.
All right. Iris, remember to unmute yourself. Down on the left-hand corner. There you go.
All righty. Sorry about that. Yeah, I was just thinking, I would love to have, well, we as authors would love to have our books turned into movies and all, but I enjoy writing just as much as I do acting.
Yeah.
I'd like to read my introduction to the book that I have, my 8th book that I've written.
8th.
And it's,
wow.
Yeah, it's called The Art of Sweet Persuasion. And the subtitle is Love Online. What you're about to read is the true story of my life-changing online love affair, which first began in January of 2019. Before going forward, I would like to offer a suggestion, mainly to women who desire to become involved with meeting friends on the internet. Prior to communicating, I advise you to make certain what it is that you're looking for in a friend. Are you acting out of a desire for a love relationship, or are you simply desiring to have friendly, casual involvement? It's important to be honest about your choice, because if you're not, you may become blindsided and an easy mark in the business of scam artistry. I'm speaking from experience, since I've been deeply involved in a long-time ongoing relationship with someone whom I initially chose not to see as the perpetrator. I invite you to journey with my partner and I as we share with you the surprising adventures described herein, based mainly upon documented two-way messages exchanged by way of internet communication. This collaboration has come about as a means of presenting a uniquely different point of view, as well as unusual events and unexpected outcomes as they occurred and have been recording in this book. Yes, I started this book about 2 years after I was into my relationship with my now fiance. And we have yet to meet in person, but we've been on the internet so much, and we've shared a lot of information between us. And he even was forced, well, he forced himself, I guess, to tell me the truth about his occupation. And I, out of compassion and out of understanding, I guess I could say, I did choose to forgive him, because I'm a strong believer in giving people chances to redeem themselves once they have fallen into a dark place. And yeah, and so I'm hopeful that somewhere along the line, well, he's due to come here this spring, where we'll be married. We'll be getting married. And I'm just hoping that, he's anxious to help me as much as he can, because where he is now, he's not very capable of helping himself. He's from Nigeria, and they're having awful, terribly awful time there with the government and the people and the young people, and it's just quite miserable there. And I'm hoping and praying for a good turnaround soon. But anyway, my fiance is getting ready to go to southern France, where he'll work for about 2 to 3 months in construction, and he'll be ready and able to come and be with me, and so we can continue our relationship by getting married. And I just thought I'd throw that in.
Well, that's very good. Clark, I saw you had your hand up first, and then we'll go to Joanne.
Yeah, I just, apropos to what was being said about the making of a book into a movie, Ender's Game was, it's been published maybe 25 years ago by hand. And, it is a sci-fi movie, but the protagonist is a pre-adolescent boy. And there is a long discussion in the print book about how the author had a terrible time with movie companies trying to expand the age of the protagonist, to get him into adolescence so they could have a love interest.
Right.
And he was just as adamant that this was supposed to be, a pre-adolescent kid. And I'm an old pediatrician. I mean, I'm a pediatrician and I'm old. It's my current and well-founded theory that the smartest humans around are 11-year-old children.
Mm.
You don't have any of that sex stuff messing up their lives.
Yep.
So he was very adamant about that, and finally got the movie that he wanted. But it took him 25 years to do it.
True.
It's they don't have your best. They're not really interested in the purity of the book.
Yeah. Joanne, you had your hand up.
I can't hear her.
Joanne?
Can you hear me now? Can you
Yes.
hear me now?
There we
Yes, we can.
I just recently wrote a book that I self-published, and I've been doing a lot of stuff on my own. I've set up a book signing, and then I'm trying to set one up at the college. And a lot of people in town have bought the book simply because they knew the situation. And I had my son, my grandbaby, and my daughter-in-law were killed in a car accident.
Oh.
And what happened after the accident is life-changing. I believed in life after death, but things that happened to me and my family after my son's death just convinced me more so that there is life after death. And so I mainly wrote it to help families who have lost children, because that's so devastating. But I hope that it helps everybody. And self-pub, that was the first book that I've ever done. So I'm learning a lot in all of this, and I appreciate everybody's input.
I'd like to be unmuted. Thank you. Okay, Kimmy, you had your hand up? You're muted, darling. There you go.
Yes. So first of all, my condolences to Joanne.
Amen.
I'm
Absolutely.
a mom of child loss too. That's what my first book is about, 43 Days Born to Live. It changes your life forever. But I was gonna say, if mine, I wouldn't even mind my book going to becoming a movie, but I would be very scrupulous as who I chose to even play my role. Because I wanted to stay as close to the book as possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, child loss changes, I don't care what age. It changes you forever. But the good thing is my book, I leave people with hope.
Absolutely.
You can grieve with hope. So, but yeah, I definitely would want to do that.
We're starting to get to an area to where it's getting more toward the end of the hour, and I think now would be a good time. Kimmy, I appreciate you showing us your book. For those of you who have your book with you, let's go around the thing now. Iris, I think you said you have written 8, so I don't know if we can go through all 8, but how about your latest book at least? And we'll go from there and tell us what you've got going on and where we can get your books and stuff like that. By the way, Kimmy, I've already got yours at Amazon's. It's sending it to me. So I'm excited. I'm like, woohoo.
Well, thank you.
I have bought so many books from all you people. You've got to stop telling me about them. Oh my gosh. Yes. Anyways, but okay, did we lose? No. Which one was leaving because they have another somebody was leaving. Is it you, Lakeisha?
Lakeisha.
Yeah, Lakeisha, why don't you go first?
Let's have you first.
Since you've got to leave because you've got your author of the hour thing that you're doing, and show us your book and tell us a little bit about it.
It's called Your Wealth Lives Within, how to how to, let your most powerful wealth building tool, secure your future. It's a financial book. I'm a financial coach. And so I wanted to create something that kind of helped me with my clients, or, even people who maybe I didn't get a chance to, coach, have something that they could have in hand, just little nuggets. It's only, I think it's 37 pages long. It's, it deals with how we grew up with money, how we saw our parents deal with money, and how that affects how we, handle money now. And, just basically, how, we feel about money. And so, yeah, that's what it's about.
Well, that sounds good. Dan, go ahead.
Yes, I authored 2 novels, and I hope that this is the kind of book that would help Kimmy and Joanne with their losses. It is titled Diary of a Seeker. I don't know if you can see it. Tales and Anecdotes of a Life Student. This first volume 1 is written in the form of a diary, almost daily entries from January 1st to July 31st. 179 entries that were all spiritual. And it started with me originally writing and leaving love notes to my wife, that little on 1/4-inch paper. And it evolved over time into little moralistic, metaphorical stories. And I feel that they were inspired from the unseen. I'll just leave it with that. This Diary of a Seeker Volume 2 is a follow-through between August 1st to December 31st of 2017, which was a very controversial year because of what was going on politically. I've also written 10 children's books.
Oh, neat.
I'll just go through them very quickly without going through the storyline because everybody has to talk.
Yeah.
The Birdies 4, Cleaver McBeaver and the Great Tornado, Otto Otter, Sunny Hedgehog, and the Premonitions of Mr. Sun. I also do my own illustrations, so I come from an art background. The Lighted Island of Ginny Giraffe. I don't know if you can see it very well. Crocodile Doobie, which is basically a dragon egg that is found in a crocodile nest, and the mother raises it as a crocodile until they find out all the powers that this dragon has, like breathing fire, roasting marshmallows. Paula Koala and the Cough Drop Factory. Now, these 3 books that I'm going to show you are all coloring books, inspired by a friend who read all of my stories and said, you want to captivate kids, make them into coloring books. So this one's called Pink Polka Dotted Skies. It's about a traveling zoo, and what happens is that a baby elephant speaks English, and it becomes the the main event of this traveling zoo. But she's very timid and made fun of, and she escapes her curmudgeon leader and owner of the zoo because of the balloon man who feeds her helium, and they start floating. So it's about her friends that are also a rhinoceros and elephant, and they escape their abuse by breathing helium until she finds out that she doesn't need helium, because with laughter and play, she leaves the earth anyway and floats. The Legend of Sky is about a bluebird that can't be seen because he's the same color as sky, and he helps his friends from being murdered by hunters by using blue dye and being put into a pond, and they escape also. Brianna the Basset Town Fair is about a little dog that is left alone under a bridge and abandoned, and a boy child raises it.
Okay, Dan, I know you've kind of gone on there, but we need to get to the others. So let's start up in the upper corner. Clark, what's your latest book? Clark, you're muted.
There you go.
Okay.
I don't know how I can follow that. I have a political fiction series set 170 years in the future, but basically it's designed.
Move it
Be
over to
careful
the
with
other
the
side.
title. It is Outland Exile, as in
Okay.
Outland Exile.
Gotcha.
And it's essentially what would happen if the US dissolved and you had two countries come up. One was young, with everybody being retired at 40, and the middle of the country, everyone expected to live to be 170. How would that change their politics? And then so I picked up a middle-aged, that is, she's 17, individual, and put her into the other country. And and she's immediately captured by another middle-aged individual who's 76. So they're both middle-aged, but they differ in age by 60 years. And so the first book is called Outland Exile, and it's kind of a coming of age story for the protagonist, who is Malila. The second is Exile's Escape, which is, notice it's Exile's Escape, not Malila, but there are so many individuals who are exiled, and they're all trying to escape, and they are interacting at a distance and finally getting through. And Malila of the Scorch brings the story to a close, because you can tell from the whole arc that this is a metastable situation. It's not gonna end well for somebody. And so this is the conclusion where the two middle-aged people actually get together and find a real way forward where their countries have failed. So I've enjoyed writing that, to the point where I'm writing another series, which I call tentatively the Silence and the Gods, which, before the first trilogy was written, America had fallen apart, and now I try to sort of put it back together again in the second series.
Okay. Hey, Clark, I'm sorry if I've cut you short, but we need to get everybody in there and see.
No.
And I'm so sorry that let's bring it down to where it's just a brief summary. And once again, your latest book. Latasha, how about you?
Hi. My book is The Devil's Deeds.
Ooh.
And it's a story, a fiction story. It's about two kids, a girl named Tina and her brother Charles. And some pretty interesting things happen to them when a lady named Doris comes into their life. Their life changes drastically. And then there's a fire. And it kind of follows Tina after the fire. I'm actually in the process of writing the sequel to this book.
Oh.
Currently. So, because the end of the book kind of leaves you hanging. So.
It's always nice to leave an opening. Now, Kimmy, you showed us your book, The 43 Days, and you're muted. There we go. But yep, that's a good picture of it. Very good. Okay. And that's about your son. I know that. I'm serious. I'm excited about getting that one.
I keep telling you, we're going to have a cup of coffee and talk about it.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump over Iris. Oh no, Iris, you haven't done yours yet. So you need to unmute yours. There you go. What's your latest book, Iris?
It was The Art of Sweet Persuasion. I did read a little about it, but I can just go over real quick a few of the others. My first book that I wrote was Everything to God in Prayer, Memoirs and Prayers Inspired by My Journey to Freedom from Fear. Now that's this one.
Okay, Everything to God in Prayer.
And then after that, I wrote one called Steeltown Girl. It's a treasure chest of memories from my growing up years in Sparrows Point, where the Bethlehem Steel Corporation was located for many years. And it housed a lot of its workers right in the heart of Sparrows Point, where I was one of the children who grew up there. And it was a quaint community. And if you'd like to read about it, you can get all of my books from Amazon.com. And it's Steeltown Girl. Then there's Carmel and Dwayne, Harbingers of the Dreams. There's This Heart's Journey, which I go into detail about my son's suicide and other things, but it's not depressing. It lifts your heart, really.
Okay.
And I have one called Carried by Angels, about how angels often come to visit us in times of trouble. We'd hardly even notice that they're there, but sometimes. But I believe, and I know I've been through an example of that myself. And the last one is this Popcorn Tree Storybook Plays, Cinnamon's Dream and the Journey Home. I'm also a playwright, and I've put on my work in Baltimore City and different places around.
That's fascinating.
I think I've had around 6 or 7 plays that I've written.
Wow. Okay. Well, we'll look forward to all of that too. Now, John, we haven't heard from you except that brief time. Tell us about your book.
Hooray and hallelujah. Before I do that, I just want to show you that I got 5 books coming out.
Oh, wow.
And that, if you can see them.
Yes, actually, yes.
And this is the one they were talking about, the one-legged cowboy.
Yes, I saw that one. Mm-hmm.
It's about an old cowboy out west who loses his leg in an accident, and he has to figure out how he's going to spend the rest of his life because he can't do cowboys. He can't be a cowboy anymore. So
he could be a pirate.
He turns out to be a deputy in the local town, and he solves it goes after some of the bandits. That's it in a nutshell. That's me.
That's good. I mean, I saw that book. In fact, I tried to catch your one of your booths, but I'm gonna have to go back and catch it later. Joanne, you were telling us about your book, so we've seen that one. We haven't seen you, Father Bob. How about you? Now you're muted.
I'm out.
There you go.
There.
Wait, there he is. Okay.
My friends that know me say I could never unmute my mouth. So that would be something. This is the current book that I have, Joy for the Journey, The Royal Road in Time of Distress. And it's a book that traces the idea of joy through the Hebrew scriptures and the various words that are used, translated in modern Bibles in English as joy, and then also through the New Testament. And then it gets into prayer. I am the director of this diocese of the Charismatic Renewal for English-speaking people. And so it has a lot in there about that. It's as I think all of our stuff is on Amazon. And one thing I would like to just quickly say, and I can't remember his name. Let me see if I can find it up here. Well, Dan was certainly one of them, and maybe the other person has, gone away already. But I wanted to ask those who are writing like historical fiction or even science fiction kind of things in the past. I just pose the thing, wherever you are in the country, they're going to have science fiction conventions. Yep. And it's not difficult to get a table at those. And if you're really, really fortunate, you can even get on a panel, which helps to sell your books. I highly recommend WorldCon if you can get to it. Quite frequently, it's overseas. So those of us who are money impaired such as myself, probably couldn't go, also physically impaired right now. But Los Angeles has LastCon just around Thanksgiving time. And there's all kinds of those places that that you can market good books. To Dan, I think it was, that mentioned that he had something that were like diary entries or entries that came from.
Yeah.
Well, I did that with, I was married before I became a priest for 24 years. And that was before, obviously, I came after my wife died. She died of lupus. But every single day we wrote love letters to each other. And I would leave them in her lunch, which I had to make for her. And she would leave me something that I could read when I got to work. And as a result, I have 2 10-gallon boxes of those love letters. And I've only just now been able, after 23 years or 24 years that she died, I've just been now able to look at it. So I'm so sorry I missed the beginning of this. I continue to seem to have trouble signing on. But to all of you who had interesting things to say, and those of you who have been more quiet than some of the rest of us, it's just an honor and a privilege to be here with you guys. And so I not only thank God, but I thank you, and I thank all of you. So take great care. God bless.
Absolutely.
God bless.
I'm not even sure. Please forgive me, because I'm sure I'm going to just slaughter your name.
No worry.
Okay. What is your first name? How do you say it?
Napasorn. Napasorn.
Oh, Napasorn. Okay, so I was close.
Napasorn.
All right, tell us
it's
about
like
your
all
book.
together. Yeah, Napasorn. Yeah. So my book, this is so new to me. I had done a lot of things in my life in America. So I am original from Thailand, and I came over here almost 27 years ago. Before I write the book, I had a Thai restaurant and I have 5 Thai restaurants and 2 yoga studio. With, when I first came over here, I have no English, no people, no mom, no dad, no friend, no sister, no people. I came over here by myself at the 20 years old. And I lift my hand up to the heaven, and my mom spoke over me when I'm 5 years old that only one God up there in heaven that hear your heart. So if you pray from your heart, and then that one God will answer you. So I came, the turning point that I came because first love broke my heart. So, and when you're young, you're just thinking that you are so giant. You can do anything. You can go everywhere. You can, all things. You just feel like you're so giant. So I'm just like, God, my heart, just help me for the visa to come over here. I would love to bring the whole family from Thailand, because I have 4 nephews, and the man in Thailand that I saw is a lot of men that cheating. So everywhere is almost like 90% that the man in Thailand is cheating. And I have 4 nephews. Yeah, I have 4 nephews that I love so much. So the heart that broken from the man that I in love with, the first love. So that is give me the strength and determination that want to come over here in America. So I came here with only $100. My mom don't want me to come over here. And now, after I done all of first goal, because I bring the goal that I want to bring 14 people from Thailand without knowing that how I'm going to do. But I just asked the one God up there that mom told me that my heart and you need to do that behind the scene. So I'm just like talking to him, doing my life here with my own strength, because I don't met Jesus until the last person that I brought from Thailand, my brother. So I brought 14 plus 2-3 cousins. So I brought probably like 15 people.
Excellent.
The goal that I had 20 years old, and the one true God, the one that behind the scene.
Yep.
The last person I brought is brother. And as soon as my brother get the visa and be able to come over here, Jesus show up. And I meet him on my bed. So I didn't meet him with a pastor or church or sermon because I know nothing, because from Thailand Buddhism. So Jesus took me to the vision, brought me to the vision, and I received the salvation with him on my bed.
Wow.
So when I first opened my eyes, and I was just like, no way that I'm on my bed. That's the first word. I'm just like, And I have like 4 dogs and 3 dogs sleep with me on my bed, like 1, 2, 3 here. And they like snore. And I'm like, how you guys snore? Mommy went to, have fun with Jesus, and how you guys snore, and
Yeah.
then I'm just like, get up. And I'm just like, what has happened to me? I'm like, no way. All right, Jesus, you are the one God that my mom told me I accept you from today, and I will follow you. And after that, I'm seeking about my calling and walking and seeking, because I have a Thai restaurant and customer invite me to many churches. But how funny that 13 years in downtown Orlando, pretty good side of the Thai restaurant, that a lot of pastor, like a lot of churches around me, but nobody approached me about Jesus, that he is the God. But I received him, and when I seeking him, that what is my calling? So when he told me to write a book, and I'm just like, that is a joke, Jesus, because broken English, no high education, write a book, that is a joke.
Okay, thank you so much,
Yeah,
Moo.
yeah,
I'm sorry to
yeah,
cut
thank
you
you so
off.
much. Yeah,
Right, that
sorry.
was really inspiring as well. But we have, I think, 3 more authors. We have
Yes.
Joanne, Sandra, and Reeve. Let's talk with Joanne.
Joanne.
I think she's having difficulties. I see her freeze on the screen.
Well, how about
we go
Reeves?
to Sandra?
Or Sandra.
Okay.
Yeah, Sandra.
Okay.
There you are, Sandra.
I'm looking at some of my book. My book is called 480 Cador Street, Surviving Unpredictability. That's book 1. 480 Cador Street. Book 2, Trials and Tribulations. Book 3, I'm working on now. It's a 3-book series. In that series,
you're breaking up. Did you want me to do it?
I talk about family dynamics, child abuse, domestic violence, and I talk about when I was present at age 19, when my husband was murdered, shot to death in front of me, and left with 3 babies. So I was widowed with a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 3-month-old. And I struggled to get through all those things, and just kept on struggling. And it seemed like every time I got one thing done, something else happened. Then I went to the military. I was stationed in Korea. When I got a phone call from the States that my mother and sister were burning up in a fire while I was on the phone.
Oh my gosh.
And I was in Korea. And then to get through those hurdles, it just took so much to get through. I pretty much survived on pills, anxiety, depression. I wasn't living my real life. I was on pills. And then getting through all those things and thinking I'm walking well and doing well. I get a knock on the door one night. My husband and I were home, and it was the police. They were like homicide detectives. I'm already afraid because I knew I just spoke to my 2 daughters in Virginia and Maryland. They were fine. My oldest son lived in Pennsylvania. My youngest son lived in Maryland. I knew they could only be coming to tell me about him. And they talked to me. They asked my husband, he was there. And he said, I'm sorry to tell you, but your son was murdered. And so, so I understand the ones who lost your children. I understand that, definitely. So I write about all those things. I'm finishing book 3 now because it's a harder book talking about all those deaths. And then in between that, when COVID came around, I did another book called There's Always Room for One More. It's a foster care book. And my husband and I did it together because we had a foster child who was moving from Maryland to North Carolina, and his little truck with all his belongings in caught on fire and he lost everything. His wife was already there. So I did a GoFundMe to raise money to help him out. And News Channel 7 picked up my story, and they came to interview us and found out that my husband and I fostered over 100 children in the DC, Maryland area. And that went viral, and we decided, we got so many calls and so many interviews that we better write a foster care book. So we wrote There's Always Room for One More. It's on Amazon for like $19. But all of my other books, if you look my name up, it's Sandra, all little letters, my website, Sandra L. Kearse, Kearse, Stockton.com. My books can be found anywhere. Just Google my name and you'll find it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. All right, Joanne, are you back? Or do we
Yeah,
need what?
I saw her moving, but
Yeah, I
we
did
can't
too.
get
What about
we can't
Reeve?
we can't get her. All right,
Reeve is
Reeve.
here. Can you
Okay,
hear me?
Reeve, yes, we can hear you. Tell us about your book that you've
Oh,
written
well,
or that you want to write.
firstly, I'm very moved by all the people who preceded me, telling me so many things about their life stories and their history, personal histories. Really quite a thing. Now I'm a man nearly 90 years old, and
Oh, wow.
thank God I've not had to go through any of these terrible stories that you hear. I guess I'm lucky. I'm an old rabbi. If you go, but I wanted, I'm an old rabbi, has written a number of books. In fact, I hope some of you will look at them. One of them is called The Faith and Doubt of Holocaust Survivors, and it's a serious, heavy-duty book, won national awards. Elie Wiesel said it's the most important book written in the 20th century connected with the Second World War. I've written another book, a follow-up book to that called Blaming the Victim and Victim Blaming, a study in Holocaust theology. I've published a new book of poetry, which I'm very happy about. You can get any of these on Amazon. While the Skies Were Falling, the Exodus and the Holocaust. I don't know if anybody knows about Velikovsky, the great thinker who was an Einstein and a Freud rolled up into one. They were his buddies, by the way. And this book, While the Skies Were Falling, is taking Velikovsky's thinking up to date. So I brought that up to date. You can find that also, as everybody else says, in Amazon.com. And my latest book, which brought me to this conversation in the first place, is a book called Escape in 8 Days, and it's a story of Hanukkah, kids who each day, 8 days of escaping from Nazi Germany to get to a ship taking them to the promised land. So so that's my latest, which brought me to this listening to everyone else's conversation, because it's a kind of a story that, how should we say, goes well for kids about 8 to 12 years old. That's pretty much what I wanted to say, except for one additional thing. I invented a sport called bank shot. I would love each of you to look at bankshot.com. That's BANKSHOT, bankshot.com. There are 800 of these bank shot courts all over the country, and tens of thousands of families playing it. And since I'm with this group for the first time, I thought I'd share it. You might enjoy looking at it. Go to bankshot.com when you have a chance. And it would be nice to hear from any of you by way of that email and website. Am I making sense? I'm an old guy. I'm not always making sense.
Yes.
Yeah, I made sense this conversation.
You did. You made sense.
Oh, that's
Absolutely.
good. First time today.
Did Joanne ever get her? Did you ever get unmuted to where you can? I saw you showed us your book, but we weren't able to hear you.
Am I there?
There you are. All right,
I think I'm here.
Yes.
Here I am.
Here you are.
Okay, it's called My Borrowed Angel. Yeah, it's called My Borrowed Angel, and it also talks about how I knew my son would not live to be at an older age. He died at 23, but in my mind, I kept hearing this voice telling me he wouldn't live past 18. And then it basically makes you realize that there is life after death, the things that he did after he died to let us know that he was still around. And I think it would help people who have lost loved ones to believe that they can see them again when they die. You can get it at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and iUniverse bookstore.
Excellent. Excellent. That's great.
Thank you.
Let me see. Who did we not get? I think we've covered everybody.
Yep.
Oh,
got
me.
everyone. Yeah,
Yes.
you, Bobbie.
Me. I forgot about me. me. Woo! Okay, so I wrote a book. Actually, I've written two. My last one was a children's book that I also did some of the illustrations in, and it's called the First Annual Duck Springs Whistling Contest. And it's all about a little 6-year-old boy who wants a silver whistle, just like what the police have. But to win it, he has to whistle tunes, and he gets his tooth knocked out by the bully. And it talks about how the interaction between the kids and things like that, and hope and aspiration. And then, of course, I came up with it. Listen, guys, if you can come up with some kind of a marketing plan to sell your books, I came up with this plan at one of my book signings that I hung a whistle with every book. I gave away a whistle and I hung it up, and the kids would go in and they'd say, "Mom, I want a whistle." I was like, "Great, you can buy a whistle for $7 and get a free book." Or they can buy a book for $7 and get a free whistle. And then the other book I have, which Reader's Magnet just they just rebranded it for me. Let's see if I can get it in there. It's called The Sounds at River's Edge. And you see the little girl. We move it that way. Oh, other way. The little girl is got the hand of the parent. And these are true stories of growing up in South Florida along the Intercoastal Waterway from ages 4.5 to about 8. And each chapter is an individual story. And the very first story is called A Leap of Faith, where after watching cartoons of Bugs and Elmer and all that, I saw Bugs have an umbrella and he jumped off a cliff and floated down. So at 4.5, I climbed up in an oak tree and got on the roof of our house, and I leaped off of the house with my mom's umbrella. Needless to say, I did not float. But anyways, so those are individual stories, each chapter, and it was a lot of fun, and I'm working on the follow-up of it even now. So more Sounds at River's Edge, and you can get that Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Reader's Magnet, and me. My website is Bobbie J. McLaren, just like my name.com. So listen, guys, you are so diverse in the writings. I love it. It's just so awesome. And thank you each.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed this. This was my first one.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, everyone. This has been a great session. This actually has been has the most number of participants out of all roundtables. Thank you so much, everyone. And I hope to see you guys next